You wrote recently, Peter, but I think you've written this before, not that long ago.
Probably. I often have to write things many times before anybody notices anything I say.
But the whole thing should be scrapped and we should start again.
I think it's the only logical conclusion now, that if you, just as you remember when some nationalised industries came to an end, a lot of the people who tried to replace them said, well, we're not hiring from the people who used to work for them because they've got into working habits which make them completely unsuitable for the new kind of services we intend to supply. And no doubt there will be some people among the existing police who could be retrained to go out in all hours on foot patrol and work as preventive police officers and to become friendly with the public and to support the public and basically be public servants again and not carry great racks of equipment around with them, but revert to the concealed truncheon and the generally restrained view. And I think there are probably people in the police force who could, if they were asked nicely, actually investigate a burglary, for instance, and arrest a vandal and things like that, which they don't seem to like doing very much now. But so among the vast numbers of people who now serve in the police, I'm not saying there's nobody who could be a policeman as I imagine the job, but I think what you have to do is you have to recruit over perhaps 2 or 3 years and train a new police force on the lines originally devised by Robert Peel and the first commissioners of the Metropolitan Police. And when they're ready, then you close down the old lot and move in the new one.
Would you reopen police stations?
Absolutely. And I would say police stations, they would be police stations in populated and busy areas, not as they are now, office blocks, often in industrial estates on the edges of town. They would be headquarters of law enforcement in the areas where people lived and worked and moved and had their being. I'd also put police houses back in villages and very definitely have the police in rural areas again, instead of having to drive miles when called to some country votary, which they do now. Because you need the intelligence provided by people living among the people they serve. I would try and bring back police houses as well, which I think were a very useful thing, where the police lived not just in villages but in towns. And there were actual areas where the police lived together and people knew where they were. This had an effect on the neighbourhoods where they were, very much so.
Well, quite near to where we are now in Pimlico, there was a big police estate actually. It was, I don't know whether it still is, it might well be.
Yeah.
But what about the general standard of the way, I mean, you know, without actually sound too much like Even More, I feel that the way even, you can see the change in function is, you say, there's all this stuff hanging off them, but there's also a kind of sloppiness off them now as well, I find, you know.
Same thing, I mean, who are you serving? And
yes.
I mean, I remember years ago on the Daily Express I did a column about the problem that the police themselves now often look pretty uninspiring. And I had Graham Allen, who did a weekly cartoon for me then. I said, can you draw this scene? And he did it beautifully, of this man coming out of his house and going up to a group of people hanging around in the street, really shifty looking people, saying, "Go away or I'll call the police." And they replied, "We are the police." I mean, baseball caps, for goodness sake. They always seem to put on baseball caps when they're about to do something pretty awful.
Yeah.
But then there's the other thing, this state police thing is very much in London, you notice this, sometimes in the provinces outside courtrooms. You see these people who have the word police stenciled on their uniforms, and they're holding submachine guns, and they're wearing baseball caps, and they have the bandoliers and frying pans and were dangling from them, and great big whopping great kicking boots on. And you think, when I see this kind of police officer hanging around, for instance, Paddington Station, I think, against whom is this person protecting me? When I see them there, I hurry through in case. I mean, here they are, Heckler and Koch. What if that went off? I just don't. I don't want it. It doesn't serve me. And an awful lot of these people do their main jobs. And again, I see them a lot around Kensington. Is guarding of embassies or guarding of politicians, and they are effectively sentries. Now, my view is if these places, if embassies and political buildings are so under threat that they need armed guards, we have an army.